final. You've always got to expect the unexpected with this team. They're here to play. Let's see what they can do. Blue side for game number 3 for Weibo. They ban the Gnar this time around. I think we might be getting a little bit of Renekton again.
Yeah, we'll see. Corki, though, I think still worth the B1. Even though, look, Weibo got smashed. Corki was still actually starting to deal damage, right? I think this was more of a case of, hey, you know, hey, I'm not even going to try and sell you guys the Corki buy. We all know how strong Corki is. So, good opening. It's now about what BLG actually decide to prioritize. With the Ashe and the Gnar bans, quite a few more picks compared to what we saw previously. Likewise, Maokai have slipped through the draft this time out. Lucian still remains a ban.
Lucian's banned. Ashe was banned from compared to the last game as well. Ezreal, I think, raises in priority because of that. I think that's one of the best kind of tier-listed AD carries left. I think you could probably looking for a Zeri on 3 for Knight or another answer if you want to. You don't really want to play the Smolder into the Corki. I think that's a Zeri only matchup really for mid lane. It's much better there. To look at the Zeri, look at the Ezreal, and of course the Renekton as well for that top lane. If Breed doesn't have an answer to this is going to be a bloody top lane matchup again, and Bin has been really taking him to task.
I do really hope Breed brings out a carry. That's what we saw in game number 3 last time around. Like something like the Jax that's a bit of a classic for him. I mean, Kennen is open and available as well. There are picks that Breed could go for that bring a little bit more presence. Ksante is going to be his answer.
So the one kind of caveat I'll say here is that you see the Maokai ult. Ksante is fantastic against Maokai ult because you press double and go unstoppable. He is taking a blow for the team there, but once again, it just opens up Bin to lane dominate.
Yeah, exactly. So freedom on the top side for Bin. Agency and ways to start fight through way on this Maokai. Knight has been hovering over that Smolder for a while. I enjoy the idea of the Nasus, but we're definitely...
Corki sounds awful.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great, even with the E-Tech. So, yeah, we're going to get the Smolder. Could potentially be room to have Knight be bullied out in the earliest of stages, but again, we'll see exactly how Knight decides to pilot this in the 1v.
Yeah, so we did see, of course, Knight getting solo kills in the game 1. Fantastic play into the Zeri. It is a harder lane matchup into the Corki, so I'm not expecting quite that same kind of game. Well, okay, it's Knight. Maybe we can expect a game like that, but it shouldn't be as easy a matchup. Hopefully, I guess if you're a Weibo fan, that gives you some hope for Xiaohu at least getting some pressure early on.
So Leona taken off of the cards. We talked in the last draft about these engaged champions and the value that they can bring, but BLG already have a substantial amount of engage with Wei. Having that Maokai ultimate available or on is technically a flex. I expect that to go to Wei though. And so banning away these engaged supports from the likes of Chris. Rel could be a good one, but honestly, you could just go for the Rel yourself on the next pick.
Yeah, you could, but I feel like if you're BLG, you probably value support R5 a little bit more. AD blind is AD blind. The AD matchups don't tend to matter unless they're like so one-sided that it's the AD matchup.
We're not in a Draven matchup meta right now.
Yeah. Worth mentioning as well, the Smolder is a flex. It's possible that could also go down to the bottom side.
Yeah, we could see that 100% be given to Elk if the circumstances are right. Let's see what Weibo will decide to ban out second here. The Kalista ban, obviously a true Elk ban. Do they just remove the Zeri? Maybe take away the possibility of having it flex both ways? I think that's also potentially a good shout. But it does, of course, also then kind of limit lights up a little bit to a point as well, so they have to think about that.
Look how many AD carry bans there are. Ashe, Ziggs, Kalista, Ezreal, MF. Like, there's a lot been taken away from that bottom lane. Now pushing it. I mean, this has been something that Light has really liked to go towards, that Varus. Elk not going to fall for it. He goes for the Jhin instead, setting up for Knight to be the carry.
If anyone missed the last series between these two teams and missed what the heck happened with Elk playing that Jhin in that game 3, it was absolutely monstrous. Now this time the Jhin is into a hyper tank. The Jhin struggles into tank, so Elk will have to play hitting that backline and somehow rearranging himself around that.
I don't think it matters though. I think he's just playing alongside the Maokai. I think this Jhin is true setup for mid-game fights. To give Bin angles, to give Knight angles on this Smolder. Now, Varus is hovered by Elk, I think probably as kind of a tease, you're probably locking this in. Yeah. That's exactly what Light does. Now it's about the support matchup. I mean, again, Alistar's up. Brawl not the best pairing with Jhin, so you're a little bit less worried about it in terms of the early game matchups, and I do suspect if we do get this Alistar on, again, if he wants the Brawl for the early laning stage, he can. But again, I feel like you want some kind of engage, you could probably look towards something like the Nautilus, just more lockdown, more forward go.
If you want more lane presence, so I go towards the Rakan. Rakan's not really been anything there as well. But yeah, you're looking for something with a bit of that aggressive option if it's all possible. Braum can kind of at least get away with Jhin being the support AD mid carry.
I actually quite like Poppy here. One, not just because of the matchup, but two, Poppy has a lot of extra damage on offer, but Bard!
On is X-Sooning. Sword Art was the Bard guy. He goes on to BLG. He brings out the Bard in Game 3 of the Summer Finals. On is here to play.
Yeah, you know, we're in our fantasy video game here. We're done with Wizards, we're done with Paladins, we're done with Warlocks. Let's have a Bard instead. A bit of music to have some fanfare here in Game 3. Really lane dominant. Jhin Bard has been a lane ever since these champions have been released all the way back all those years ago. And now you have Maokai corralling everyone together, potentially opening up for a Bard as well, and Jhin too. I look at this combo from BLG. It's really oppressive. They manage to just pull all their ults at the same time and just kind of have that slow roll team fight. Their engage isn't always as fast as a rel flash in, but it is still so devastating.
Frontline can't block the curtain call if the front line is in stasis.
It's just, it's so frightening to think about, and we'll talk about the team fight setup as, you know, we get towards those moments, but just the idea of Maokai pressing R, everyone has to bunch up, but then Bard ult, Smolder existing, giving Bin the potential of just standing in the stasis, waiting in Dominus. It's, oh my goodness me, Weibo, I don't know if they ever really should group up. It's one of those kind of awkward games.
It is going to be one of those awkward games. But Weibo have to find a way. They are pushed to their limit here in the final. They were unexpected. They came in as an underdog, and BLG have laid down the law. They want to begin their era, and Weibo is the last opponent in their way. BLG here for the grand finals, and they want to make it a quick one. Weibo have to fight back. Imagine being the guy that brought the Weibo drum into the arena. These being the games that you have to watch. That's gonna sting.
Still got regionals. It's not the best in the world.
I mean, yeah, I'm not saying that they're...
You are the best you're the best pep talker here, Jamada. Wow.
Yeah, this one...
you know, there's the series after this. If you lose, you know, they're still in the series.
The finals isn't over yet, Jamada. Hopefully. Well, BLG, strong start to this final, and again, like from a story perspective, this is the team that wants to lay down the law in the LPL. They are poised, but Weibo, it would be the Weibo thing, wouldn't it?
See that BLG hovering around, seeing if maybe they can walk forwards. Bard level 1, very strong, of course. You stand next to that wall and you open yourself up. Tarzan can get one here.
Okay, nice sidestep. Does get rooted, though, by the Deadly Flourish. Triple pull from Crisp is huge, and Xiaohu on the flank here. Heal comes through from On to back away once more. Knight now trading with Xiaohu in the meantime, getting those stacks. It's a long old level 1 here, and Weibo are sticking around. On, still going for more in the invade. Flashed on, low on HP, flashes over the wall, keeps himself alive. Wei, though, is caught in no man's land, gets his phase rush, dashes to safety. How is no one dead?
I don't know what the heck happens there. With so many flashes blown, no one dies, but the resets are going to be pretty bad for some of these lanes. Elkin On, they aren't really going to be able to stick around that laning phase. You know who the real winner here is? It's actually Knight in the mid lane. Smolder level 1 versus Corki is not great. He manages to escape that, gets a HP advantage. That's a big problem.
Okay, well, PLG's invade goes a bit wayward. However,
I was going to say he's top esports. He's not top esports.
You know,
anymore.
I thought about making the joke, and I said, nah, probably not going to do it. But yeah, again, and the other thing is Tarzan wasn't chunked out low enough. Rand can have a bit of an unhealthy clear at times, but in this case, you know, starting on the Raptors, going to leave his Red and Krugs for now and just clear upwards, and that's going to get him through this early stages. Wei, again,
of unhealthy clears,
will also suffer a bit of a similar fate, and maybe going to be a little bit behind on tempo in terms of being able to impact the lane somewhere.
I really want to echo something that was said by the desk.
Hang on a second. Xiaohu goes wide on the Foss bomb. Knight. He's going to go for something more there.
I was wondering if we do for a flash also Q. They're still very, very low. We'll have to keep our wits About is here. Level up's coming up soon though for both of these, probably at the end of this wave. Knight is that should be at least safe to pick up this one. But you know, one thing which was said by the desk, which I really want to echo here, is that Weibo, if they want to claw their way back into the series, there has to be an individual level up starting right away from the laning phase. Having stuff like that level 1, which helps at least your bot lane, it is the start of something. It's not gone for free though.
Tarzan goes for an invade here. No, goes towards the mid lane instead. Knight still has that flash. He can just flap his way to safety. Knight dodging that damage. And importantly, this Smolder, known as a scaling pick. Remember, game number 1 of this series, if you missed it, Knight got 2 solo kills. 1 on Xiaohu, 1 on Light during the first few minutes of the game. This is not a pick that you can count out for Knight.
Yeah, really surprised also Tarzan didn't look maybe to find a bit more information about how Wei was doing on this clear. Walking in on a jungler doing red buff as Brand, you feel pretty okay about it most of the time, but Wei's allowed to full clear. He's going to get a skull, look for a little bit of vision likely, and then base unless Breathe looks like a very diveable target, and I think that's the idea here from BLG. Big stacked wave, level 4, enough mana for a Pathmaker at most.
No level 6, barely any mana. Can they find it? Waits for the W before Wei goes in. TP committed, but they commit for the kill anyway. First blood has been tanks the tower. Xiaohu is just as low. There's still a cannon underneath the tower. They're waiting for cooldowns. They're clearing this wave. Xiaohu has to catch the next wave.
He has to hold it.
Oh, he's going to hold the wave, but then you think about, okay, well, he's going to hold the wave, but what happens across the rest of the map? Fighting the 2v2.
Elk doesn't find the root and takes a good chunk on. It is just walking into them. Distraction gameplay from the Bard.
So looking back at the overall implications of this, yes, kill on that top side goes to Wei. Probably would have been worse if it went to Bin, but it's still some farm away from Breathe. Knight gets some time alone in mid lane as well. Then we said it's a harder lane matchup into that Corki, but he's done very well.
On might have overstepped on this one. I know you're Bard, but I mean, it's like being banned from above with this one because he really is Bard.
Okay. One. At times, that took you a second to get. At times, Elkanon have definitely overstepped their bounds in the 2v2, and we finally see a little bit of a misstep in that 2v2 in regards to actually giving something over, and that's a kill. It does end up going over to Chris, so it's not the worst thing in the world, but still a little bit too over-eager to make things happen on. And we'll see how he looks to recover from that and maybe start to get out onto the map once we see these grubs spawn up, and of course Dragon Contest becomes a slightly more hotly thing.
Yeah, that's the next big thing. You have the first objectives of the game on both sides of the map. Is on Bard, so he can go where he wants. He's on tour. You know, he's been kicked out of the pub. He's going to go find himself another place to go set up his music, go collect those chimes and see what he can do with that. BLG, they do have level 6 on Smolder as well, which is a surprisingly good amount of damage early on. Crisp going in.
Up goes down as Knight gets the Guardians, keep himself healthy, and Crisp chunked pretty low here. Remember, all of these trades early on, so long as Knight doesn't go down, he's stacking those Smolder stacks. Wei moves into the mix, as does Tarzan. On, no summoners, or at least he's got the heal, but Magical Journey will keep him safe for now, but Xiaohu really punishing that positioning.
It's all build up for the grubs, because remember Tarzan on this brand, such a good grub taker as Elk. We're going to eat a very meaty trade.
Oh, nice cue from Light. Is this a chance for revenge? The arrows fly in, the piercing arrow! Flashed away from, tries to avenge himself from the previous series.
Yeah, grubs now here being taken. Wei, I mean, Q Smite, you can steal away at the very least one here.
Tarzan gets one. Wei lurking for the second. Pillar of Flame denied. Wei has the smite. Oh no, he doesn't have smite. It's on cooldown for him. Yeah. Still gets 2. Chris walks away. Xiaohu on the scene as well. But the Magical Journey. Okay. Chris gets baited, but On's just going to get chased down. On twice now. He's got out of position on this Bard.
Crisp is having such a good game on the Alistar too. 2-0 on the cow. He will absolutely take that. For this early game, and he gets something on the board. What were we saying about this again? If Weibo want to fight their way back into this series, it has to come from a strong early start, from the lanes, from the early skirmishes. Crisp getting the rest of his team into a good position by hitting these slick combos and catching people out of position is exactly what Weibo want.
Much stronger start, all in all. Tarzan as well. On this brand, I think it's going to be able to have a fair amount of impact. If there's one thing that can make a team fight a bit awkward, Pyroclasm, Rylized, all the slow burns, definitely make BLG think twice about eagerly diving.
That might have been the first time in this series that Weibo had a gold lead for just a couple of minutes there. It's basically even. Spin looks to grab himself a plate and might just end that statement from me, as the gold lead might just tip over towards BLG. But it's even in the early game, and that honestly is a big improvement from the previous 2 games. Or at least from the previous game.
Yeah, look. And if you count the series before that, the previous 5 games, as Ben gets himself a shove in top again. 1,000 gold up on this Renekton. The big thing about Renekton is that if you can't keep the wave away from turrets Ksante, which you can do with your W, Renekton can walk beyond you, get demolished from tower, go out the back of the turret. You guys get free place, demolish over and over and over every time you crash it, and no one's coming to help this top lane. This hasn't been about ganking top lane as a series. It's been, you know, we've had 1 or 2 looks, and it's been much more about kind of these skirmishes in the jungle and bot lane.
And I want to mention how BLG historically have played towards El Canon. That has been the strong point this series, in this game, and in the previous game. That's not been the case. Elk's been left out to dry, and Bin has been the carry. Roots come on through, Pathmaker used to try and tank up, but wait. Twisted advance keeps him safe. Bin doesn't even tank the tower.
Yeah, a little bit awkward though. It does mean that Wei has to flash, but still, I mean, they get what they came for, and Reeve dies.
Also love how it's like, oh, it's not really about being ganking top lane. There have just been 2 strikes in a row into top lane. Oops. Well, Benny's got himself an absolutely huge lead now. This is where the Renekton starts to reach a breaking point, where it's not just, oh, it feels good in lane. This is, oh, it will win team fights. He doesn't have a teleport right now, but he's not necessarily going to find himself the easiest access in towards these players on the other side of the map.
When Bin was asked before this series if this was going to be a matchup of Renekton specialists, he said no. This is going to be a one-sided stomp, and Wei is doing a good job to make sure that that is the case here in game number 3. Breathe has been put so far behind, and once again, Bin has that agency to take over a game.
So BLG managed to just hold off Weibo on this bot side again. They were potentially looking for something. BLG, I don't think they want to overextend here. Bin's doing fine on the top side. No sense in throwing a play bot side when Bin, in the next minute, can have his teleport back up, and he can really start to spread that advantage around. Weibo, they could get themselves the early dragon, but it means 10 minutes and it's first dragon. It's not like you're giving 2 over early. There is no reason for BLG to overplay their hands just yet. And one thing which I'll really praise BLG for is the fact that they have actually been quite reserved. They are a very aggressive team, but they're not necessarily a team that will overpush things.
Yeah. For now, it's
chunked low. Light's going to try and finish the job. Piercing arrow does it. The roots come out just in time to keep the BLG bot lane alive. But that's a nice little pickup for Weibo.
Yeah, and I mean, they can just turn this straight into dragon. They want to dive further forward as well. On still not level 6, no tempered fate. So there's nothing particularly awkward to deal with on the dive, but reset's not feeling like it's necessary to pick up the objective. Mum is going to deny Xiaohu his base for a few extra seconds, but also helping clearing this wave, and Knight will have a very, very good reset timer for himself.
I've got to say, it's a very different ultimate when it's said in a British accent, isn't it?
Oh, Mum.
Like, Mum. Mum.
I'm not
I don't know
quite
why
like,
we're suddenly from Birmingham.
Yeah,
but
like, I'm not quite like the Midlands from you lot.
True.
I'm the southerner. Oh, you're a Yorkshire boy, Ed.
We've got all 3. Yeah, we've got North, we've got Midlands, we've got South.
Yeah.
For people who have no connection to England, this means absolutely nothing to you.
But importantly, tower taken at the top side. Crisp trying to contend for these grubs. 2 went to BLG in the previous skirmish. Tarzan wants to find 2 of his own at least here.
Crisp, we've talked about him a lot in this early game right there, holds onto his ult again. Whenever Crisp has his ult, and of course his flash coming up soon, BLG do need to be very, very respectful. You don't have the Rel, Braum, very, very hard supports to kill, are they? Bard is not. Bard is much more squishy, and you can catch him out. And of course, Bard doesn't have the ult yet either. Has been roaming an awful lot, but not quite picking up enough XP from those chimes to get that ult.
You can see that On knows that it's a squishy champion. Giant Belt first item on the Bard. I guess he's still gonna maybe go for the Warmogs angle, unless it's a Rylai start, which I'd be a little surprised by.
Let's get hostile going, boys. Get creative.
Every so often,
TFT.
every so often we get one of those ARAM builds escaping containment. We get hostile everything. We have ourselves the Grub start up again. 2-1 on the scoreboard for BLG right now. BLG trying to make it 4.
Good flash from On, and Crisp rooted on the front line. He's tanky on that Alistar. It's a good CC chain, but wait, chunked by Xiaohu in the meantime. This is Bin's playground though. A Renekton for an early fight at level 10. Be very happy with that.
On would just really love level 6 though. Like, go towards the mid lane wave, drop a grub.
Oh, root onto On. Light finds the arrow. On, down again. Crisp gets a knockback, but it's onto Light. Bin gets the perfect targets for the Croc. Curtain call, can't finish the job though. Croc down, Weibo surviving. They can't quite go for the grubs though.
Yeah, too low for the grubs at the very least, but BLG maybe on the way back out can look for one or 2 more of them. Elk, good denial there. Again though, decent fight for Weibo. These fights don't look too bad.
And particularly in this early game, it really has been support diff. That's the biggest difference on the Rift right now. On not really landing the big plays, getting caught out quite a lot. Crisp on the other side, being very patient with his ultimate, not being punished for it. He's actually pulling his ult at the very best time he can. Weibo are really using this Alistar incredibly effective.
And it's really significant because Crisp had quite a rough year for himself. He was actually sucked out at one point as he was struggling on the Rift. And on a similar story where he didn't necessarily have the greatest split for himself compared to what we expect from a player of this caliber. Here in Game 3, On is struggling again.
And, you know, there's no 6 on the board. Not a tanky champion, goes down very, very easily. Crisp immediately gets bin away from Xiaohu, who could have been stunned in front of the other BLG teammates. Crisp pops the ult. We got to fight in the pit now.
Crisp low. Fourth shot wasn't there. It was the third. Xiaohu goes in. Knight can't quite find the slope. Breathe behind enemy lines, perhaps has a chance. Pathmaker, no! Knight flashes into it and is pulled straight into the open arms of Weibo. What a fumble from the all-star mid laner. And now the chase is on. No! Bramble smash sets Crisp away. Wei gets that locket and keeps his team alive.
Yeah, the locket just keeps him topped up enough, but hey, Weibo sneak back into the river, go 3 for 3 on grubs. An awkward flash from Knight means that Pathmaker does connect in the end, and he loses his life now with Herald up. Bin on the wrong side of the map with not a lot of backup in the immediate future. Believe could also accidentally sniff him out. No.
He's got ult. They're going to go for another fight. Here we go.
They're going for it. Elk is here with the fourth shot as well. Tarzan rooted up, stunned up, and executed. Bin now trying to escape on the top side. In fact, looking for a re-engage. On has gone straight into the mix once more, and he's just going to go down once more. On has fallen apart in Game 3, and Weibo happy to capitalize.
I was like, okay, someone's going to pick it up. I was a bit worried about how long that skirmish is going to go on for. But yeah, Weibo capitalizing. This is fantastic for them. They've been down and out all series long, but now finally finding a bit of reprieve in these fights. Knight's going to flap over the wall.
And I think one of the biggest things, look, we're looking at a lot of scrappy fights here, and you might think, well, this is, you know, what should we be doing in terms of the macro sense it? Weibo have stopped BLG from farming side lanes, from stacking in side lanes, and also stopped them from winning these fights. Normally you'd think, top side fight, Renekton early, awesome. Renekton wins those. It hasn't been the case. Bin has not actually been able to get that huge advantage into team fight wins in the way we'd normally expect from such an incredible top laner. But while this is happening, Weibo, they stop a lot of the big fights happening on top side working in BLG's favor, but they also stop the cross map.
Hey, guys, yeah, I was about to say, it's nice that Wei's doing Dragon's first Dragon, 16 minutes. Dragon's not been taken. I just wanted to, I put my hand up like I'm in school to get everyone's attention. Yeah. You guys don't want to see it. Yeah, first Dragon now is finally going to go down, so there's not even going to be a soul in the immediate future either. Knight's going to eat pretty heavy trade.
Xiaohu looking for revenge for game number 1. Won't quite finish the job, but Crisp here comes the cavalry, and the Knight will be taken down. The burn finishes the job as Tarzan cashes in. BLG look to the bottom side. I don't think they'll find anything.
I love how Knight's like, well, jig's up. Let's get as many stacks as I can. Throw the ult to them. I'm sure I don't need that for the next minute or so. This is really big, though, again, for Weibo. Got themselves a nice amount of grubs earlier. They managed to get themselves that Herald ult over the wall. Light cleanses.
Cleanse from Light, but follow-up route after follow-up route and a curtain call. Set up for the first shot, but no, Chris arrives in the nick of time. Light still falls way out of the top side, but here comes Tarzan to punish the escape. The burn is there. He's looking for one more hit and finishes it. On now being chased. Will not be able to close the gap. In the meantime, Xiaohu's got a hit too.
Great for Xiaohu, 700 gold, but I really have to, you know, praise Crisp's play there for even turning that into a 1-for-1, because BLG's creativity and finding that pick off of a Jhin trap was crazy. Headbutts. Hello.
Can they finish this?
He's dead.
Oh, Tarzan barely walks away. 6 seconds on the deadly flourish, but the health bar is back. The sustain from the jungle is plenty.
How well is Chris playing? He has single-handedly wrangled this game into the advantage for Weibo. The rest of the team has followed suit. And the biggest thing about this, we'll keep talking about this in relation to that Herald, there's no side lane wins for BLG. Xiaohu teleports in.
Doesn't have flash available, and Xiaohu's here to punish for the magical journey. And the block on the rocket on finally makes a positive play.
Redeems himself for 16 minutes of that game with that block. Again, you know, Weibo, very creative play coming out from them, but here's the initial, I mean, it's all just coming off the Jhin trap. Cleanse all over the wall from this Maokai as well, and then look at Crisp though, because once he enters this fight, headbutt to stop the curtain call, I think Q flash to prevent Wei from getting the damage in. Yes, of course, does eventually lose his life to Varus, but it corrals way in to die to Tarzan in the back end.
I'm going to be honest, I feel like On's ult kind of ruined the play for BLG.
Anti-synergy. Well, one of them can't hit them because they're in stasis at that point. Now we've got Weibo going towards the bot side, trying to buy a bit of a push on this bot tower.
Finn gets a stun. Nice little trade onto Breathe there. Won't be too much coming out from Weibo. I just want to quickly mention again, gold lead for Weibo. This is huge compared to the rest of the series, and this is a team with a 90% record of closing the game out when they're ahead. And that's a great little pick onto On again. He has fallen apart. He's earning his old nickname again.
Yeah, well, this is an off game, folks. It is not necessarily been his best showing in Game 3 after such a stunning first 2 games from BLG. We were talking about potentially things being the quickest best of 5 in history if it finished before 20 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, we're not getting that, folks. We might not even be getting 3-0.
I'm gonna say it.
Yeah,
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Guys, we might, just maybe, we might have a series on our hands.
I can feel it.
If Weibo can continue with this momentum moving forward, and I mean, they've got a lot of the tools to do it. Xiaohu's scaling up here. The graphs come up right now. I think it's about to be 2 items.
It could be the beginning of the most Weibo thing you've ever seen in your lives.
Let's not get too excited just yet. They're ahead in Game 3. It's a great start to the game. They've got to finish the job, though.
And that's the problem against a team like BLG. You make one big enough mistake and they can take the entire game away from you. Chris goes for another combo, stops him out of the journey.
God, On actually still gets through the journey. He somehow survives, but El in the meantime, he tried to save his support and he'll regret that decision. Wei trying to escape the phase rush, smiting a Q and a flash as well. BLG get out with most of their lives, but that is an objective forgone. TP towards the mid lane from 9.
Yeah, he's just trying to save the tower there at this point. Gets some wave clip, but suddenly we've got BLG teleporting defensively, caught out whenever they look into the enemy jungles. A minute until the dragon, and BLG, I don't think there's any way they can really contest that one as they've used so many flashes in this fight just here. Weibo now have 2,000 gold lead on a Corki in mid lane, 1,000 gold on Brand into the Maokai. You expect that as carry versus utility. You can definitely have some issues there, but also this Varus is absolutely monstrous. I actually don't see how Renekton plays this game into Varus Brand. That combo is absolutely disgusting if you're a HP builder. Those two will just shred you.
And I just want to credit the resilience of Weibo here to have such a performance in game number 3 because, for players like Chris, players like Xiaohu, players like Tarzan, they've been in finals before. This is not new to them. But for Breathe, for Light, less used to the high-pressure scenarios and looking to try and find their first title today. It'd be a hell of a journey if they could get it, but credit to them where credit is due. This game has been fantastic from them. It's a 4,000 gold lead with Baron up on the map and a Brand on their squad.
I think for the immediate future, though, for BLG, inaction is very, very strong action. Allow Smolder to stack up, let Elk hit 2 items, wait until you can actually press tab, and at the very least, when you're in game, you can't see the total gold. The only thing you can really go by is what items are in the inventories, right? And I think if BLG can press tab and see that they're equal items, they can start to feel confident again in actually looking proactively for plays. And right now, I think that's what they have to look towards. Let Weibo try and make these proactive plays and then just react off them and see what you can actually take or deny in those sequences.
If they lose this mid lane out of turret, it makes things quite hard though. That's going to be an ult trying to catch out Light teleport coming through.
Oh, takes a tower shot as well. Elk goes in for the 4th shot. Nearly answers with his own live curtain call comes in, but Bin is rooted, gets onto the backline and sets up for shot number 4. He slices out, but he cannot dice further. On flashes the damage as Knight arrives on the scene. He's got that passive. Flash comes out. Here's Breathe on a flank. That tower is not long for the world, and BLG know it. They back away, they avoid the flank, but they lose their tier 1.
I love this play from both sides. Weibo just want that tier 1 down, but BLG looking for the pick off that teleport on the Jhin trap of all things. It's so close to working and actually being a little bit more positive for them. They lose the tower, it's a 1-for-1. They can still walk away happy from this, knowing that it's not a game-losing play.
But I just love that move. Just like, yeah, sometimes inactivity can be really positive for these teams. No, we're teleporting mid lane and fighting again.
But this is that for BLG though. When you think that play is that mantra in action, right?
Yeah.
They're looking to react to what Weibo are doing, and just look very scary.
Speaking of, Xiaohu found kill for Knight. Great setup from Wei. And suddenly this Smolder might just be online.
That's really important because the key thing of what we've been talking about in the last few minutes is, okay, you're not exactly ahead in gold. Can you get some value out of the stacks and out of stuff? But Knight, he has that Triforce Mirror Mana Spike, similar to Corki on the other side. Yes, it's down a significant amount of gold, but it's now bought a free wave in the side lane. We'll get a tower in the side lane. And as we were saying, despite the lead for Weibo, BLG are very, very punishing. You make mistakes like this, BLG take more than you think.
And you know, we said Weibo are good at closing out games. BLG are better. You know, you cannot afford to lose your lead against this team. Weibo, these next couple of minutes are going to be crucial. They need to regain control.
Let's see how this pick happens. It's off the back of the dragon. Xiaohu just looks for the wave, and just that fizzle of vision as he takes the control ward gives Wei the inkling to just keep on pathing down here. And once Weibo catches that wave up high, oh, hold on. Knight's dead, the bird.
Okay, Comet finishes the job. Tarzan grabs a kill while we're in the replay. We're in a replay of Knight getting a kill, and it blocks the fact that Knight gets a death.
Hang on a second. Well, I mean, looking at what Weibo have right now, there's a chance they could go towards the Baron after this too. They need to clear out this midway, but BLG need to be very, very careful now. There's a good amount of burn damage, and that's it. Baron started. BLG, they don't even have the bottle at this point. What can they do to fight this?
It's so much of their damage, Chris. He's found on.
On's caught, stunned up. Magical Journey gets him to safety. Baron still going, but there's vision for BLG. Knight's up in 15 seconds with TP. And Weibo decide that's enough of a threat.
The teleport being available for Knight, as Jamada was just saying, look, Knight is the most damaging person on BLG at this point. The Jhin is behind, playing into an Alistar and into a Ksante. Very, very hard for the Jhin to carry your fights in the way that we've seen it before. It has to be about Smolder now.
Yeah, it really does. And this feels, in some ways, a little bit bad. We'll talk about the replay actually first, because, again, we want to know how he died. From a long distance. They're looking for for Light, rather, but Flash, Cleanse, not expecting all of these balls to come out, and then Knight gets clipped by that 3 blight stacked arrow. Tarzan burst to finish it off. He did. He really did. Just about perfectly. And, you know, now again, if we kind of take a step back, zoom out, look at this game for BLG, again, Knight is, I'm not going to say all of their damage, but when you really think about it, Elk is playing for setup, Bin is looking for backline, and he's always going to have damage on the squishies. It's Knight that's bearing this burden for BLG.
Gets a stun down. Tarzan looks for the crab. Should be able to grab that. That's Crisp, actually. It's further in. Not sure if he'd gone too far there, but not really much damage on the side of BLG. Like you guys say, Elk and Knight been really the only damage sources. Which means armor is super effective. There's a Thornmail in that top side already.
Yeah, but speaking of items, really important. Knight just picked up RFC. Yeah. Rapid fire cannon, procs off Qs, get that extra range for the poke. Very, very important to the gameplay loop of how Smolder wants to operate inside of these team fights.
And of course, you know, it's 25 minutes. He has the stacks which he needs for the burn. We talked about that one. So BLG, what can they do to make sure that Weibo don't actually crowd out the vision the way that they've been doing the rest of this series? You can see what's happening right now is Elk is using that static shift and just clearing this mid wave on repeat, trying to put down traps as the saplings come down as well. There are also bits of half wards as well, the saplings and the Jhin traps. They buy a little bit of information for BLG as they try and stop Weibo from just rushing that Baron. BLG are playing defensive. That is a huge shift earlier in the series. Huge credit to Weibo, particularly Chris, as we said, for most of this game, for being that go button and forcing BLG back onto their side of the map.
Yeah, and if you're Weibo as well, you just have to be so apprehensive about starting the Baron pretty much at any given time if all 5 members of Weibo are up. Maokai ult, Bard ultimate, Jhin ult. There's so much non-committal poke damage and forms of CC and engage from way further than you can ever dream to answer. So realistically, you have to kind of run into them, not let them actually abuse that range advantage through their tools. So starting off a Baron, I think, is going to be nearly impossible unless BLG makes some kind of wild pick on a side lane and it's about, you know, trying to rush the purple worm down itself.
Back to the wave clearing game. Game slowed down just a little bit. Weibo trying to again just make sure they win that vision control back. Go back towards this Baron and make sure that BLG are still playing defensive. BLG, if they slip up and they allow Crisp into a really good position, there's a very good chance they can find a good pick, especially with Tarzan. There's so much damage on this brand. No one's really matching that. Well, BLG can't do the same thing. The Maokai can't offer that sort of damage. BLG are just trying to slow things down, get themselves enough items so maybe Knight can be that real oppressive late game threat. But even then, if this goes hyper late game and it's Smolder versus the Brand and the Corki and the Varus, it is still not going to be necessarily an even fight.
I've seen Smolder do very wild things.
I've seen Brand do wild things!
Yeah, you know, it's very true.
We'll have to see. I mean, honestly, it's just ironic to me that it feels like Weibo need a knight in shining armor to slay the dragon. Knight is the dragon. It's the wrong way round, guys. Where's St. George when you need him? Weibo want to know.
We can ask Light if he has a death note. I hear he's got one of them walking around. It's a different reference, you see.
I'm not the anime guy.
Joe didn't get that. Oh,
no.
wow.
Wow. Suddenly, the tone.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
I don't know what to tell you.
We've discovered
I don't watch kids' cartoons.
Oh, God.
Not doing that debate here.
Most controversial thing I've ever said on a cast. Preparing for the DMs at any moment. Here we go, BLG. It does feel like they've wrestled control of this top side here. Complete darkness around the Baron. As Elk gets Prio in the mid lane. That tier 1 still in their way. BLG using the pressure in the side lane from the Croc, using that vision control around Baron.
Yeah, and particularly you can see two things are happening which are really helping BLG. We talked about the static shiv Jhin being really good wave clear and the traps giving you kind of pseudo vision. That's helping in mid lane, but of course Bin on the Renekton is still winning in the extended side lane against the Ksante. It gives you some amount of ability to push out the map. And Weibo haven't been able to force on top side. That's a big thing. They haven't been able to find those advantages in terms of this vision control in top side and actually making a play off of it.
Yeah, and look at Knight's poke damage here. It's very incremental, but again, you know, Xiaohu just took the blowback of 2 Qs and lost 25% of his HP just for fun.
Yep.
You can imagine what that's going to look like if it's directly the Q home on top of it. Wait, he's got...
Okay, the root and the Q to try and get phase rush. The movement speed is there, but so is the burn! He's gone! Trees don't like fire. I think we all knew that one. And Knight now trying to get some poke over the wall as On moves it. Weibo start the Baron, and BLG must answer. The curtain call flies through. Xiaohu sent away. The root lands as Bin looks for a follow-up. This is 4v5. Crisp is in the backline as Bin goes in. Crisp has bought space. He's bought time for the Croc to be eradicated. He may answer with his own life, but perhaps answers with the play of the game. He saves Weibo as Knight barely lives, and Xiaohu finds his man.
Weibo clutch out the fight, but they're not going to be able to take the Baron. BLG almost had themselves one of those real BLG classic moments where they can get themselves the uneven play.
What are we doing, my guy? I don't think you'll find any kills here, and you're very alone. On looking for a magical journey, but I don't know if he's going to find it. Gets into the jungle. Xiaohu now chunked as Knight arrives, and Wei looks for the... I mean, Wei is almost up again.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to take the bait of it, though. And finally, these teams are going to step away from one another and take a reset.
However, think about the conversation before that last Baron. Weibo, they can't quite force the play. They can't quite use this vision control. They do force a play, but they don't get the Baron. It does mean that BLG survive another couple of minutes. They don't have that Baron buff against them. They do get some ability to now to move out to the side lanes once again. Starts with Wei taking the scuttle, dying for the scuttle. Many people have done that before. Flashes forwards early, flashes in a straight line, gets hit by the Q.
Flash Q, but also it's the flash Q into the E afterwards, so it's kind of difficult to dodge regardless. The Baron is started up, but again, the range of the poke and the engage from BLG's composition is just so threatening and so frustrating, and then it's about the access that Bin gets on the side here. And just the amount of space him and then Crisp also by from preventing BLG from moving forward.
This was almost... Look, if this happens with... If this happens... Oh, go back to the Baron, just gone down.
The Baron is gone. Mum called, but is it enough? Crisp keeping everyone away. Has been dived into the back line, and Light is left. He's still alive, though. Executed by Elk, and here comes the Dragon. Knight looking to finish, but he's burnt asunder. Tarzan surviving as Elk has to carry. Can the Jhin do the damage? The deadly flourish! There's 4! Jin's favorite number, but he wants a 5th! The Penta for Elk!
That came out of nowhere! Oh my god, BLG! They might have dropped the Baron, but I mean, they kill everyone on Weibo, and Elk finds a pentakill.
Who told me Jhin can't carry? Who was it?
I think that might have been me. The second struggle with the Ksante, struggle with the tanks. Elk does not give a damn. We are left thunderstruck. He uses the static shift to just run rampant across that team fight, get that AoE damage, the dancing grenades, the extra long-range follow-up, and Elk takes the game by the scruff of its neck. This is always the worry about playing against BLG. If you give them a big enough mistake, they will always punish.
And now as everyone returns back to the map, I mean, with the Baron gone, it's kind of a map reset. We'll take a look at this fight, though, because we were in the replay. Baron burned down by Weibo, Bin again in the backline, but look how much damage Knight's ultimate gets across the rest of the team as Elk from downtown with the Jhin ultimate just layering so much damage in. I think he snipes Light with a deadly flourish, and then it's all about this backline and the fact that Knight continues to get all this damage out, and it's Elk that gets all of the finishing touches.
You know, I thought that this fight was going to be over when the overdive came in from Bin again into the left backline. It's like 1v4, but he does actually do enough. He goes down, but the follow-up is actually there. The movement speed from Jhin is absolutely absurd. The amount of value he just gets out of crit after movement speed, gets the rapid fire cannon for the last bit as well. Elk plays this so goddamn well.
It's absolutely beautiful. And, you know, everyone was protecting Light from the curtain call. Once the curtain call was gone, they kind of abandoned him, and suddenly the deadly flourish flies through. 6k damage as another fight is on our screen. Chris tanking on the front line. Here come the flames as Wade dives into the backside, but he's gone way too deep. There's no answer from BLG for now. The curtain call not doing enough. Knight has to carry as Bin is pulled under the tower and can't find an answer. Double for Xiaohu.
Weibo are finding a way. The front line of BLG is not working well in this game. They're getting separated. They're getting overdives into this backline, and Weibo are not actually under threat from the Smolder and the Jhin in all of these fights. They're somehow, given how long-range champions they are with rapid fire cannons, still out of range.
Oh no, Chris caught Elk once again. These traps are just too much for Weibo.
Goodness me, Weibo. I mean, I was gonna say, this game is starting to get very, very hectic, very chaotic, and maybe someone wants to take a breath, but honestly, Weibo are thriving inside of this chaos right now.
It's getting a little reminiscent from Game 3 of the previous series between these two teams.
The previous games of this series, we're talking about BLG being improvisers. They take a single advantage and they say, that is it. That one person will carry. Weibo are very good at doing the same thing. We'll get the full rest of this thing. It's this time a Maokai sapling. So it's not even just the traps. We're saying, like, you have half wards. You have the Jhin traps and you have the Maokai. The damage is done by the Maokai. The damage over time helps with that too. Opens up the roots come through from the Jhin. Easy kill.
Exactly. The dot kind of extends how long Jhin has the availability to root him. So the fact that it's a root and just not the flat damage is also kind of just a nail in the coffin there. It's another fantastic pick.
We got to return to the conversation of items again, though, because we have got a Bloodthirst and Alpha Knight. We're on 4.5 items for Elk. On has just face checked into 3 of Weibo. I've got to be honest, On.
Hi.
Not the greatest game in his career.
On's defense turn here. No objectives around.
Yeah.
We can all stand in a circle and sing together in peace. It's okay.
You try telling my solo queue teammates that no objectives around matters when I do that.
Yeah.
The best I can think of is one more death and he goes 0-7 and we can at least salute him in chat.
Yeah, I guess. But look, this is realistically going to buy Weibo a bit of space here on this push to look for a tier 2, a bit of poke on the bottom side, maybe in the mid lane as well. You can see Xiaohu very happy to step up for the time being. BLG's engage, you know, with On gone, it kind of just relies on Wei and then follow up from Elk. It's kind of the tempered fate is what really puts emphasis on having to get out very quickly.
I think we really need to start having a chat about how these last items are going to start changing things too. We've got a minute until the Baron, 2 minutes until the Dragon. Let's talk about how these items will affect the confrontations around that. Bloodthirster on Knight, really, really important for him to shrug off some of the poke. On the other side, Xiaohu doesn't have that sustain. He's gone towards a bit more armor pen. He has the rapid fire cannon himself. You look between the AD carries, you have an Infedge on one side, Falc, huge amounts of damage. On one side though for Light, he has the Terminus and the GA. Very, very hard to kill. He has a lot of resist, and you kill him once, he's still going to get up and walk back at you at that point. BLG might find it quite hard to get through that Varus at this point.
And it's worth mentioning that Light, if he is untouched for a fight, he's going to do so much damage. He'll shred through Bin, he'll shred through Wei, he'll shred through anyone that comes near him. It's just whether he can get that range to find those hits. Obviously, Varus, a little short range. I don't think he will bring his Baron's will not last long. Wei's caught here. Root going to come on through. Headbutt. No! Oh. He headbutted a chicken. He hit the chicken, I think.
Yeah, I think he did. I think he did misclick the chicken. Small misclick there from Chris.
I mean, 20 seconds.
But it's not so small when you think about when the Baron's about to spawn up. Wait, I mean, he's got Warmog, so he's not going to have to reset. Think about it, but here we go. Baron's up. Weibo are in front of it, but I think for the time being, Let's start this up as soon as possible.
Wei had no flash. That could have changed.
heartbreaking.
That could have changed so much in this game. Let's see, back in the slow-mo replay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for showing us that one again. Wei, no flash, no teammates ready to help him.
Was it the Q?
Ult comes through.
It's the Q, it's the Q. No, it's the Q.
And
No, he interrupts it with the
okay.
break.
All right.
Wow.
We take that back. We take that back.
Yep.
Cancelled out. Wei saves himself.
Still heartbreaking, but also really impressive from Wei. That was perfect timing on the tree. And I can't believe, like, we came into this game talking about all-time records. We could have the length of the other two games within just this third game at this rate.
That we could. So, objectives coming up, Dragon coming up now. One important thing which hasn't really been achieved from BLG like they did before is that side lane pressure. Bin is being pushed in, actually by Breathe right now. Doesn't want to be left on the dark side of this bot lane. A little too long. BLG, they're going to start pushing through this mid lane. Again, potentially, they can maybe even look towards burning that Baron themselves. Smolder does have a good amount of DPS. Here comes the teleport.
It's a deep TP, but Crisp is caught on the front line in the meantime. Goes to the Unbreakable Will, but it's not enough. That's going to be two. Tarzan burned down as well. BLG from nowhere find it again. Breathe is on the back line, but what can one man do against such reckless dominance? BLG are here to make their mark on the LPL, and there's nothing Breathe can do about it.
They've got half a wave in the mid lane here and another wave rolling in. Gentlemen, I think this is the series. BLG are marching into the base.
We had eras in the past in the LPL. We've had times of dominance from different teams. As another kill comes through, EDG and RNG are gone. The era of JDG is over. Now begins the age of Bilibili Gaming.
Very, very rarely, especially in the LPL, do you see a team like BLG do this almost uncontested in these finals. Yeah, regular seasons, they have one or two moments where maybe teams could take it to them. In the finals, in the playoffs, BLG have stood alone.
Dominance like this hasn't been achieved by another team in the LPL. Uncontested. 3-0. And like we've said, eras have come and gone, but it always feels like there's a battle at the top. This one, it feels as though BLG are sat on the throne entirely alone.
It felt inevitable this year that BLG would raise the Silver Dragon Cup. They do it again, twice in a row, and they don't look like they're stopping anytime soon.
Records are matched, records are broken.